Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Dawn Melanie. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of my series, Managing Self, where I share with you how I use healthy foods, fitness, and fun to engage myself and hopefully others in living a healthy lifestyle with multiple sclerosis. Today's episode is titled, What's on Your Plate? What's on your plate? Yes, as a fully intentionally rhetorical question. I looked up the definition of rhetorical to make sure that it fit before I said it's a rhetorical question. But the definition is a question asked in order to create a dramatic effect or to make a point. And that's exactly what I want to do today, make a point. My point is going to be with food analogies. As I said at the start, three important elements in my lifestyle include food, fitness, and fun. But today I'm going to use a food analogy and making a plate of food. One thing that I do every time I eat, I think of my plate before I even start. I want to have the essential components on there. An appropriate amount of protein, an adequate amount of carbohydrates, and some fat. Ratios that, I've learned that are ideal for my body type and for me to attain the level of fitness that I want to maintain the level of fitness that I desire. So everything that I pick or select is thought ahead of time, not just a random selection. So what I want to do with the statement, I said, what's on your plate, is to actually first, let's analyze, look at the meaning of each word. What's on your plate? Let's start with what. What is a pronoun? It asks for something, information identifying something, the thing or things that do something. The apostrophe S, or which replaces for is means third person present to be. So it is to exist or occur or basically occupy a position in space. So let's see, we have something that is. Okay, that is what is. Next word, on. On is a preposition, and it means to physically be in contact with and supported by a surface, or forming a distinctive or marked part of the surface. Let's read that again. Physically in contact with and supported by. So on. So that would be something, let's think of food. You have a piece of chicken that's physically on the plate. In direct contact. Next portion of that title, your plate. It's your plate. I looked at your plate as one element. Your is a possessive pronoun belonging to or associated with a person. Plate is basically a flat dish, used for food, which food is served or eaten off of. So I like to look at your plate as that your, myself, or you in your scenario, and plate as far as what is being served. Or I like to look at it as your responsibilities, or things for myself, my responsibilities, or things for which I'm responsible and accountable for. Okay, with that being said, I think methodically a lot of times in graphs and charts of that nature, and if we look at what those items that we're speaking of, I first want to make a point or to point out that just because there's an item there does not necessarily mean it's on your plate, so that it's your responsibility. So that's why it's important to look at each of these, I guess, factors separately. Okay. Okay, sorry. That probably was a little confusing. I think I got myself twisted around as well. So I'll just start with some examples with my last weeks of activities. What was on my plate? Last week, I had my monthly infusion. I took my mom to get her driver's license, to get her license renewal. Workouts were on my schedule, or my plate, my agenda. Cooking and eating healthy meals, always on my agenda, on my plate. And adequate sleep and relaxation is a top priority with me every day. So again, my monthly infusion, helping my mom renew her driver's license, working out, cooking, eating healthy, and relaxing. Very important for MS. Let's see, the first one, my monthly infusion. What's on my plate? What should be on my plate? Remember I said earlier, I like to make sure I have protein, which is essential, some carbohydrates on my plate, and some fat. So these things that are on my plate at all times, or in most times, shall I say, because I'll be honest, in the evenings when we don't need as many carbohydrates, a lot are watching their weight and things like that. Carbohydrates are heavier, and at night times we don't need that. So we make adjustments. I know I make adjustments, and I usually have carbohydrate, heavier meals earlier in the day. So I'm not looking at each individual, let's say, meal or on any individual plate, but I'm looking at my general plate for the day. So that's how I want to look at this, what's on your plate as far as managing MS. Now, my first activity I mentioned, my monthly infusion. What that is the what. I've identified what. The is definitely a present deal that was occurring. It did exist. It happens every 28 days. So that's present. It's not something that's in the future or something that's in the past I have to consider. It's something that is. And last week it was. It's something that expressly, not inherently, but expressly affected me. My plate, yeah, your plate, Dawn's plate, because I was responsible for getting the infusion, as it directly affected my MS treatment that I'm on right now. So my monthly infusion met all the elements of what's on my plate. I have identified it. It was present. It was directly, physically related to me, and it was on my agenda. Not for somebody else to do. Only I could fulfill this duty, is me. So that was a definitely do. So that's something that's on my plate, and I accept that on my plate, and I want that on my plate. So not to, well, yes, I guess I'll use it as metaphor. I ate that. I'm gonna eat is what's on my plate, and I'm gonna address those, or I'd say eat the food that I eat the foods that are promote my good health, and I want to take care of responsibilities and things that are on my plate relating to my MS that likewise promote my good health. So that was one element, my monthly infusion. My mom's driver's license renewal, something very important to me as well. She's my mom. It was present. It was a present. It was, yeah, present is to be, because there was a time deadline of a couple of weeks. So it had to be done. That's something I couldn't put off. She didn't know where to go, and I'm available. That's one good thing I like about the MS is that, well, I am available for my parents who are seniors, and I live closer than my sister does, so I was able to take them or take my mom and get this taken care of. So that was a present thing that we've identified, getting mom's new license. Me, my plate. It was on my plate because, well, again, I was available. I'm her daughter. I'm willing to. And my sister is out of state, so it only made sense that I do it. And I had the time to do it in the morning. So that's something that was on my plate. I accepted it on my plate. And, it wasn't stressful. So something that's on my plate. I knew about it. I dealt with it. Another item, my workouts. You guys may know I work out 5 to 7 days a week, a couple hours each time. My workouts didn't occur very much last week. In fact, I only worked out 2 times, and the durations were much shorter than usual. Why? Because it wasn't present. If I didn't go to the gym, I couldn't work out. So it wasn't a present thing that I was going to do. My plate, my responsibility, yes, but again, it failed to meet the requirement of being present. If I didn't go to the gym to work out, I didn't do it. It's okay. I look at it, well, there's reasons why I didn't get to the gym. I had other responsibilities and things to take care of. My monthly infusion, much more important, and also my mom getting her license. So that's something that didn't get on my plate as often as I would have liked last week. But it's okay because in the grand scheme of things, what needed to get taken care of got taken care of. Or if I look at food, what I should have eaten, I've eaten. Speaking of eating, cooking and eating healthy meals, I wasn't home a whole week because I was traveling to get my infusion and trying to get my mom her driver's license taken care of. So my schedule of cooking, preparing, packing my meals and things like that, I didn't get a very much chance to take care of that sort of thing. So I said, well, present. It is. I've identified I need to cook and need to eat, and that's the identification of that item. It's present. Eating is always present with me, always, always, always. On being physically in contact with me, like an express duty of mine, certainly. Me, you're my possession. Your, certainly. Plate, my agenda, certainly, or not. Actually, I said what's on your plate, my plate. What's on my plate? Let's see, as far as eating or cooking and eating healthy stuff, that's not all on my plate. A lot of times, if I don't have the energy to cook and things like that, my husband we either order in or go out, or he'll prepare something. This week, I spent half the week with my mom and dad, and I was lucky enough that she actually made something for me. She returned the favor of me helping her with her license by cooking gumbo. I love Mom's gumbo. She's from New Orleans, and her gumbo is awesome. So that's something that wasn't on my managing MS plate, is my cooking. I still ate a healthy meal, but the responsibility of cooking and preparing it was not on my MS management plate. I look at that as a shared duty, and again, that's how I think of things in sort of a financial term, as far as a shared duty. And so if it's a shared duty, it's not fully my responsibility, or, well, not my responsibility, but not my duty fully. So, even though I've identified eating healthy, cooking, preparing healthy foods and eating them, that's something that wasn't on my MS management plate. Fortunately, it was on my Dawn Melanie eating plate because the gumbo was wonderful. But the fact that I didn't cook the meals and go shopping and cook and prepare the stuff like I usually do is okay. And that's what that reduced, or should I say that mitigated any stress that I would incur on my visit with my mom. You know, I was doing things that wasn't on my regular schedule. My regular schedule is staying home, cooking, going to the gym, eating, going home, relaxing. But I was instead, you know, I had to spend a couple of hours with mom in the standing in lines, the heat, which affects me, of course. I'm the heat intolerant, and by me taking that responsibility of cooking off of my MS management plate, I avoided stress. What I didn't put enough on my MS management plate is sleep last week. One morning, actually, I was up as early as 6:30, which is unheard of for me. But it was necessary for me to take my mom to get her driver's license earlier, to get in line as soon as we can. And also, it was cooler in the morning. About 7 o'clock in the morning was much cooler than at 3 o'clock in the afternoon here in North Texas, where it was a real feel of about 100 degrees, and the sun was really brutal. And again, with my heat intolerance, that wasn't the best for me in my grand scheme of things of being the best me that I can be as far as managing my MS. So I didn't get as much sleep as I wanted to this past week. Some nights only getting 7 hours of sleep, and 7 hours of sleep. And for me, that's actually that night I got less than 7 hours of sleep, probably about 6.5. But for me, that's unheard of because I usually function off of 8, 9, preferably 9 to 10 hours of sleep each night. So I didn't get as much sleep as I usually do. However, one thing that wasn't on my MS management plate was the workouts, which means I didn't exert as much energy. So the times where I was actually sitting down, maybe doing paperwork and things like that, I wasn't physically putting my body through challenges. So sleep, I didn't get as much as I would like to. However, I am taking the weekend to relax and not try to make up for the lost time in the gym or like that, because what's most important for me, the most important element on my plate, my MS management plate, is sleep, relaxing, and again, avoiding stress. So I'm not going to beat myself up over the fact that I didn't, follow my pattern 100%, because one thing with MS, I'm sure you all know that we have to be flexible because each day is different. Okay, so I did not get everything onto my MS management plate as I would have liked last week. That is in an ideal sense. Everything I would have liked to have put on the plate and have gotten off the plate, either by consumption or completing those tasks. But I did get the stuff on the plate and off of the plate accordingly, the items that needed to be taken care of most. And I'll just go ahead and give myself a pat on the back. I think I aced it, even though it wasn't 100% what I thought I was going to do. I think I aced the MS management part pretty well, because I assessed the situations or the items that needed to be taken care of. I looked at those items that were in my control, that I could actually do, that I had to do, whether I had to do it in my control or if I could share that responsibility with someone else. For instance, the cooking. My mom cooked. Oftentimes my husband picks up something to eat or we'll go out. So I assessed the situations or the elements and looked at the control, the ownership, if I could control it or if I can make a change to execute what I could do to accomplish and achieve what I wanted. So I think again, the workouts didn't occur as planned. My cooking didn't occur as planned. I didn't sleep as much as I would have liked, but those items that are most critical to me, as far as my MS management course, are my monthly infusions, and I got that taken care of. Also, I got my mom's personal work, her driver's license renewal taken care of, so that's important to me as well. And so I consider I aced, my management of MS last week. What was on my plate, I got it all taken care of. I got those, pardon me, I got those things on my plate taken care of, and those things that were not on my plate was by a choice. I kept them off my plate for a reason. It wasn't their place or time, and it would have impeded me getting those things that I needed to get taken care of. So I kept those things off my plate, and sometimes it's hard to say no. No, even to myself, as far as no, Dawn, don't go to the gym. You don't need to work out. You have greater tasks, as far as priorities to get taken care of. So it was hard for me to even say no to myself. But I want to encourage you all to say no every now, not every now and then, but when needed. I know it takes practice to say no, but if you don't, you risk burning out on always saying yes, especially to those people, to those activities, to those events that you really aren't up to. When I say up to, I mean emotionally, physically. You may be tired, need your rest, and you're saying yes to participating in something that you really aren't up to. So don't be afraid to say no when it involves your health, best interest. Don't feel guilty about it. Put yourself first. Again, manage your MS management is what we're talking about today. And so I want to encourage you guys to say no and put yourself first. One way to make this easier over time is sit back and maybe rate the people, the events or things that kind of, I'm going to call them emotional suckers, but rate those things that you don't like and those things that you do like, and the things that you do like, do more of. Make sure those are on your plate more often than not. The things that you don't like, try to spend less time engaged in those activities or in relationships with those people. Bad relationships are very draining and will wear you out and burn you out, just like any, I want to say a bad habit or something, but say no to those bad items and try to say yes more to the good ones that are help you in your overall well-being living with MS. So back to my first analogy, what's on your plate? I use plate. Of course, tongue-in-cheek, in the back of my mind, I was thinking of food. And I was thinking, what's on your plate? What do you put on your plate? I thought of buffets and things like that. Sometimes I kind of think of MS as I think of managing MS or managing myself with MS. I think of it kind of like going through the line of a mediocre buffet. All of the food isn't excellent, but there are some items on there that I can really enjoy, and others I just rather not even pick up to try, even though it's all free, or shall I say all included. Lean protein or meats, green vegetables, and complex carbs. Those are items usually found on my plate. So these are things I probably go back to the buffet line and get more of. As far as my MS plate, relaxation, sleep, healthy foods or healthy eating, working out, long walks, things like that are things that are on my MS plate that I usually go back for and get more of. Those items that I discard quickly are fried foods, processed foods, sugary sodas, even diet sodas. Those are things that I don't like on my dinner plate. On my MS plate, things like stress, those bad foods, alcohol, things like that, negative energy. A lot of times, social media, we get wrapped up into negative energy. Those things I try to keep off my MS management plate. Again, these are all ways that I can control, or that I do control, what's on my plate as far as promoting a healthier lifestyle or healthier life with MS for me. A healthier life for me because I'm discarding bad items or relationships or people, and I'm embracing the good. There is an abundance of actually good that we fail to see oftentimes. So I'm embracing that and being grateful and hopefully expressing gratitude to others that they can see and that they can feel, that will uplift them in their lives living with MS, and also gives me a sense of calmness and again, hopefully uplifting others to impart a sense of calmness on them with living with MS. So again, what's on your plate is important, that you assess what's there and figure out how you can control what's on there and what's off of there, and make sure the elements that are on there are ones that are going to promote you to be the best you can be as a person with multiple sclerosis. Thank you.